In this video, we're going to create the base for the gumball machine. So to get started, we will use the rectangle tool. We will place the tool at origin, click, move over, and we're going to type 11, 4. So this rectangle is going to be 11 inches long by 4 inches wide. And press return. Press Shift Z to zoom in. We will then get our push-pull tool, click the surface, and move the surface up 0.75 and press return. I'm going to go ahead and save. I'm going to call this base, and of course, save it in Documents. And click Save. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in to this area right here. Okay. So I'll use the Orbit tool to get started with that. And then with my cursor placed just maybe to the right of the end of this piece a little bit, I'm going to take 2 fingers. Obviously you can't see this, but I'm just taking 2 fingers on my trackpad, not pushing the button. I'm just sliding them forward, and that zooms me in to this corner. And then if I want to, I can straighten it out a little bit. You don't really have to, but if it makes you feel better, go ahead. Okay. I'm going to take my tape measure tool. I'm going to create a series of guidelines. I'm going to click on the top, and I'm going to come down 1/16 of an inch. I will then come down 3/16 of an inch, and from that guideline, come down an additional 3/16 of an inch. From the right side line here, I'm going to come in 3/16 of an inch, and from that guideline, I'm going to come in 3/16 of an inch. So essentially, 4 of the 5 guidelines were 3/16. The only difference was the very first one is 1/16 of an inch. I'm next going to use my pencil tool to create a line from the top of the piece to the intersection of those 2 guidelines. And then I'm going to press Escape. That keeps me from drawing any more lines. I will then come over to the Arc tool. I'm going to click and hold and select 2-point arc. With the 2-point arc tool, I'm going to click at the end of the line that I just drew. I'm going to go diagonally across this box, click at the intersection, and what that has done is it establishes the 2 endpoints of the arc that I am creating. I will then move my mouse up just a little bit, and I'm going to type in 3/64 of an inch. You can see that right now at the bottom of the screen where it says bulge. I used 3/64 of an inch, and I press return. I will then repeat that process from the end of that arc diagonally to the other arc, but this time instead of making the bulge go up, I'm going to make the bulge go over. And again, same number, 3/64, and I press return. Then going to orbit a bit, and this is essentially what you should see. I'm going to go under the Edit menu and delete the guides. And now, you can see with the Push-Pull tool, I could push this surface, or I could push this surface. However, if I push this surface, it does create the edge that I want to, but it only does that on the end of the piece. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to undo that. Undo is Command Z. Instead of using the regular push-pull tool, I'm going to use a special tool. It really works like the push-pull tool, but it's allowed to go around corners. It's called the Follow Me tool. So I'm going to select the Follow Me tool. I am going to, now this is a little different than what we're used to. It's highlighted now, but when I click, it actually unhighlights. It's okay. Just trust that you've clicked there. So I click on that shape. I hold the Command key down, and I move my mouse to the top of the object. And I click. And what it does is it takes that shape, wraps it all the way around the top. Now, I'm going to add a couple holes to the top surface. To do that, I'm going to go to I'm going to go to Camera, Standard Views, Top. Now I'm looking at the object straight on. I'm going to get my tape measure tool. I'm going to click on the end of the line right here, click here, and I'm going to come over 7/8. Again, if you look down at the bottom of the screen, it shows what I just typed, 7/8 of an inch, and I press return. I then click on that line, and I move over that was incorrect, 5.25 inches, and I press return. Then, from the top line, click on that top edge. I'm going to start moving my guideline down. But as I'm moving it down, I'm going to move my cursor over to this end line, because as I move down, it will find the midpoint of this. It'll turn blue. And I'm going to click there, and now I have two intersections to place my holes. I'm going to get my circle tool. I'm going to go to the intersection of those two lines, click, move out. Remember, stay on axis. You can go straight up, straight over, doesn't matter, but be on an axis. And I'm going to type in 3/32. So for 3/32 of an inch, which will give me a diameter of 3/16. So I press return. I then come over this way, click, move, type in 3/32 or 3/32, and press return. I want to push those holes through. Very difficult to do when you're looking at the object straight on. So again, I'm going to orbit. I'm going to zoom in, get my push-pull tool, and I'm going to push down 0.75, which was the overall thickness of the piece, and I press return. If I orbit this now, I should be able to get somewhere where I can see that is now a hole. Okay. So I'm going to zoom out of that one, zoom into this one, click, move down, type 0.75, press return, and it's a hole. So now when I look at it from the top, it looks like this. If I orbit it to the bottom, it should have two holes. I'm going to go under my edit menu, delete guides, file, save, and we are done with the base.